It's one of the greatest promos in professional wrestling history. It's one of the things that people remember Chris Jericho for when he was Lionheart. It's one of the things that people remember from 20 years ago, if not more, on Monday Nitro. It was the list of 1,004 holds, where every third or fourth one was armbar. And tonight, for the first time ever, you got a callback to it, and I fucking loved it. Moxley.
The lexicon of Le Champion. And the funny thing is that you mentioned one of the greatest promos of all time. And you said tonight was kind of a recap of that. And while I agree that Jericho's promo was top notch, and I loved the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy portions of that, I think Cody won the promo battle tonight.
Oh yeah, he probably did. It's simply the fact that it's a great callback, I thought, to the 2004 moves.
To the list of 1,004, the man of 1,004 holds.
Right.
Yeah, and with every other one being arm bar, this time we got and the way he emphasized the Moxley, you knew he was doing that purposely just to make sure people call back.
Right.
When he got into, I will not wrestle Scorpio Sky, I will not wrestle Too Cold Scorpio or any member of the Scorpions, and John Moxley. I was literally on the floor laughing. That was such a great callback to that promo. I loved the way that
I will not wrestle Darby Allin. I will not wrestle Alan Jones. I will not wrestle Gary Allen. Or
right.
Kenny Allen, Kenny Chesney, or Moxley.
And then when Lucha or Jurassic Express came out, and you had just that huge, and everybody of course going for Luchasaurus, and he said, "I won't wrestle. I'm not wrestling dinosaurs," and to have Luchasaurus go off on his master's degree in prehistoric history and call out what he did was just a grunt for it. Just not, even if you understand what he's about, it was just kind of that great moment where he got his little one-liner of his intelligence in. And
I perfectly am in this spot on Dynamite. I think it's too soon for him simply because he's been off TV, other than the last couple of weeks. So I thought if one of those three guys, that Jack Perry was the right guy.
Well, and not only that, but he is actually positioned, just because of his ability and his size, to be a legitimate threat and be an AEW champion sometime soon. And if you throw him to the Wolves right now, you ruin any chance of him being champion anytime in the next 2 years. That's the position we're in with Adam Page. It's Hangman has the ability, has the size, has the crowd support to be that champion, but because he lost Jericho the way that he did, it's a good 2 years before he's going to be a legitimate threat. And if you feed Luchasaurus at this point to the Wolves, it's going to be a while before he is too. I mean, right now with Cody kind of pulling back, MJF doing his thing, we've only really got one legitimate contender, because Kenny and Pac are kind of not. They keep trading wins, and Pac losing to Page and Omega and his struggles. They're not, outside of Moxley, there's nobody else that's a legitimate contender. So we can't keep Jericho as the champion for much longer. Because as much as great as he is as it, unless he can figure out how to be that Ric Flair character, once Flair hit 40 and was, still the champion in WCW, unless they can figure out a way to continue to keep Jericho as a champion because of underhanded things like that, his time is coming pretty soon.
Well,
and right now,
what we have been doing actually.
Right, but right now there is nobody else other than Moxley that is a legitimate guy that's believable. I mean, if you're a history buff, if you've been following these guys for years, yeah, okay. If Omega gets the title, I'm fine with that, But as far as the storylines that AEW is telling, there's nobody other than Moxley right now.
No, I think there's two. I think it's Moxley and Pac.
You think Pac,
Yeah.
with his loss, with the losses that he had, his loss to Kenny Omega, who's been struggling, his losses to Page, who is not that upper echelon guy that he was, 3-4 months ago.
That's right. He did.
Do you really
Omega.
think?
I forgot he lost to Omega, but I mean, those are his only losses are to top 5 guys.
But the two of those, his 2 losses are to guys that are not. They don't have the steam that they should have. They don't have that number 1 contender steam.
Does anybody other than Jericho and Moxley have that kind of steam right now?
That's what I was just saying. They need that, and that's why I'm glad they're not feeding Luchasaurus to the wolves right now, because he's a guy who is gaining that momentum and a guy who could legitimately be there within the next pay-per-view. I mean, right now the next pay-per-view is clearly Moxley versus Jericho. I can't imagine them giving that away. I mean, they've done dumber things. Wrestling has done things, but I can't imagine them that away for free. Moneymaker. Really the only 2 people that have any steam. Continue with Luchasaurus the way that they are, I can easily see him the champion by the middle of next summer, or by next summer. I could see Luchasaurus being their champion by around WrestleMania season, and be a legitimate threat, and be somebody that people look at as like, oh yeah, okay, I can see that.
Okay,
if they continue. They have to be able to continue the way they are, though, to do that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the rankings right now. So Moxley's number 1, Pac number 2. He's only 8, so I mean that's an awesome record.
But the fact that he's lost the people he did is the problem.
Well, one of the guys he lost to is number 3, and he's 1-1 against him, and that's Omega.
Right.
And then Cody is number 4, and MJF is number 5. I don't buy MJF being number 5 simply because he's only had 3 singles matches. He's 2-1. And then Cody is number 4. I don't get, because how can he be a top?
He's not allowed to challenge.
If he can't wrestle for the championship.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, you're looking at the problem that AEW has created by kind of punking out Page the way they did, kind of going on this ridiculous losing streak, and then, it's because of Pac that he's had this losing streak with Omega. And then, having Pac lose to these 2 guys who are in questionable storylines with their win-loss record and their confidence. You've turned the top, and then, having Cody there and MJF there. MJF has had one singles match. He hasn't even had a tag team match since in the last months. So, deserve to be there. Cody doesn't, because Cody, gave up his right to ever have that chance again. And then the next, Page is what I think was Page like number 7 or 8.
I'm only looking at the top 5 right now, so I'm not sure.
But and then you had Omega, who for the last nothing. They've been running this whole question: has he lost his step? What's his psychology problem and all this stuff? And then Pac, who's lost to Page, who has no momentum, and Kenny, who's been though outside of that leaves 2 guys left as legitimate threats to be the champion and believable champions. I just think if they were to pull, I think it. And as great as you and I think Pac is, as great as the wrestling community thinks they are, the people that have followed them and followed Pac, followed Omega, followed Page, followed MJF, as great as we think they are in AEW, they've not proven themselves. And I think that's where they've kind of, AEW has painted themselves in a corner by taking 4 of their top 5 guys and kind of run them into the ground a little bit.
No, man. I mean, Pac is 4-2-1, and his 2 losses are to Omega, who's number 3 this week, and Page, who was number 4 last week. So I think the record, and then Omega.
No,
Omega's 4-2, and one of those losses is to Pac, and the other loss is to the champion Jericho. So I mean, and then MJF is the one that I have a problem with in the top 5, other than Cody, simply because, MJF. Yeah, I think we actually says he's 2-1, but I don't think he's actually been pinned yet. Right? He was in that.
Well, yeah, his loss was that triple threat match.
Well, when Page pinned Havoc, right?
You're right, and that's one of his wins was that triple threat match where he didn't factor into the pin.
Well, no, there was a triple. What triple threat match was he in?
That was the one on Fight for the Fallen with him, MJF, or him. Oh God, I can't. It was.
You're talking about the 6-man tag.
Yeah, with him, Spears, and I can't the guy was where Darby Allin kind of messed everything up.
Yeah, that's why his overall record is 3-1, because he was on the winning team on that one. But I'm
right.
saying what I'm saying though was his singles matches were beating Brandon.
He's
Cutler.
1-0.
He beat Brandon Cutler, and then he beat Hangman Page. So, those two to me kind of wash each other out, and I don't understand.
Did he beat
a number 5 ranking?
Did he beat Page in 1-on-1
last week?
Yeah.
Ring
okay.
thing.
Yep, but you're right. Okay, I totally forgot about that one.
But one of was a 2-minute jobber match.
Yeah.
The other one was, I guess, technically a big match over Page for that diamond ring. But I don't know. It just seems weird to me. I think you have a problem with these rankings every week, but.
Well, yeah, and I think the reason why I'm having such a problem with it is because they've painted themselves into a corner the way they've treated those top guys. If you want Pac to be the number 3 guy, maybe have him get a win over somebody that's not currently struggling. If you want Omega to be that number 4 guy, let's not pump the fact that he's struggling when in reality, his record is a winning record. But yet they kept pumping up the fact that, he's struggling. He lost to Jericho. That was his only real significant loss until his loss to Moxley, and he had that one against Pac. So he's lost matches.
Doesn't count.
But even if you look at the one against Moxley, he's lost 3 matches to the top 3 guys.
Right.
He's won everything else he's done. Tag matches, his singles matches, everything he's done, he's won. But yet they tried to storyline about how he's lost his confidence. Well, even though he has won those matches, the fact verbally running him down on TV down his because in perception, they're looking at him going, he's struggling. He's struggling. He's struggling. Not a winning record. He's only really lost 2 matches. But yet they keep saying he's struggling. So I think the commentary they did with that, I think that one bad decision on Page's part at the end of his title match kind of shoved him. Because if you look at Page, he's got a winning record too. He's popular people on the roster. He's really only got that one decision against Jericho on his record. And then he's not winning? Really, dude? Look at your record since you've been in AEW. In record, you've beat your biggest nemesis in Pac. You beat everybody you've been in tag teams, battle royals, literally everything he's been a part of, he's won. But because of that one bad decision, and they trade him on it, look at him like, okay, well he's not that big of a deal. When in reality, if they would ignore those things. And actually, Pump has been probably one of the winningest guys on the roster. He is a legitimate top 5 contender. He's won 2 battle royals. He's beaten everybody he's been in the ring with except for Jericho. And he's still looked at as a loser? It doesn't make sense to me.
You know what I just realized?
What's that?
I was wondering why I had so little energy about today's episode of Dynamite, but I think it's because most of my favorite guys weren't even on there. Allen wasn't on there, Page wasn't on there, Omega wasn't on there, um, Private Party wasn't on there, Pac wasn't on there.
Well, not just that, but outside of those first two matches and the two big promos, this was a throwaway episode. Even the main event was a letdown.
Oh, definitely was. But I'm saying, I think that and I think Page, you talked about how he's becoming popular and heating up. Well, this was not the time to have him not be on the show.
Exactly, and I think the fact that Darby Allin wasn't out there, even in a promo setting, this would have been a good time for maybe even during a commercial break if they'd done some kind of little backstage segment or not a backstage segment because I hate those, but I hate those when they're in a commercial break. But if they had done during a commercial break, say they throw a little pre-done promo about Darby Allin where you're just even watching him while the commercials are going, skateboarding and doing his biggest moves, would have done so much for him. And it would have been a throwaway segment that they wouldn't have had to spend a whole lot of time on. It would have just been, okay, we're watching on the side screen, we're watching Darby Allin do his coffin drops through a barrel and we see him in some, big movie ad against Cody. We see him in some big movie ad against Jericho and Moxley. And, you just see that image in the side of your eyes while you're watching, while the commercial's on. Would have done so much for a guy like that. And that's kind of what I've been saying since day one. I wish that if they're going to do these split screens, I wish if they're going to do these commercial breaks and stuff, that they do them right. And to do them right, you could do just a little segment that just shows one of the top guys that you're trying to pump up and make a big deal. Show some of his biggest moves during that commercial break.
Yeah.
Because that gets at that subliminal thing in the back of your mind going, holy shit, Darby Allin is really cool.
Speaking of vignettes like that, I really wish they had done this Dark Order stuff before debuting them.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
These Dark Order vignettes they're doing about people joining them and seeing their organization rise and all this kind of stuff. It's really cool, and it kind of gives you a better idea of what they're supposed to be. And maybe they didn't even know what they were supposed to be when they first brought them in. But I mean, I really like what they're doing now with them. I just wish that I didn't already feel like they're jobbers before they're showing this stuff.
Yeah, if they had done this instead of that little attack with the Super Smash Brothers when we didn't know what their name was and nobody really knew who they were, if they'd done these vignettes instead, I think it would have made so much more sense when they finally debuted, and they would have been. I agree with you. They would have been a much, much bigger deal.
I'll even go one step further than that. I'll say that if they and the Blade and the Butcher have traded places, I think both teams would be better off. Like if Blade and Butcher had come in, they had been the ones who attacked Best Friends. We still wouldn't have known who they were. You and I would have been in as dark as everybody else. But now they'd be better positioned right now than they are. And then if a Dark Order had been the ones who attacked Cody last week, after all these weeks of promos, again, they're in a great position.
Right, exactly. You can't debut unknown people. I think they're one thing about AEW is they've relied on the internet wrestling community and the people that are smart fans to know who a lot of these people are. And I think they're still relying on that, but now they're relying on that with kind of unknown entities. They did it with the Super Smash Brothers. They're doing it with this new Alley Bunny thing and Blade and and that stuff. It's like unless you've watched these guys in their and Cody, it was sad that Cody actually had to bring up their other stuff to get people to go, oh, okay, maybe I should go look them up. They shouldn't have had to do that. They should have positioned these guys right to begin with, and I just feel like they didn't.
Right.
But I mean, enough complaining. Let's talk about the good of this show. I felt like that first match was amazing. That triple threat between the Bucks and Dustin and PNP and Guevara was just an absolutely amazing match.
I feel
Might
like
be
we
one
see
of my
this every-
top.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was actually just going to say the same thing. It seems like it's one of my top matches of the year, but we say this every single week. AEW, I'll give them credit. They come out the door swinging every single week.
That's not
They
what
have.
I say.
Oh, it wasn't. I mean,
No.
it just, to me, it feels like they put their best match on to start every show.
Yeah,
And I felt like they hit the home run again this.
Their most exciting match. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had 2 weeks ago, was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago? We had the Phoenix versus Hardy match. That was last week, or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, but it was Phoenix versus Nick Jackson, not Jeff Hardy.
That's right. Oh, Jesus! Both you and I get that mistake. Nick,
I never say Hardy, but I do say Jeff occasionally.
You say Jeff.
You
yeah.
literally said Hardy.
I mean, at this point, Nick, you need to cut your hair. You need to change your look. I don't know. You need to separate yourself from Jeff Hardy because it's starting to become a problem for us. I'm just saying. I love you, Nick, but I'm just saying.
What I was going to say is, it feels like we say this every time he wrestles, but if there's people out there that don't realize how great Dustin Rhodes is at this point in his career, they really need to get on board.
And the fact that he's almost 50 and still this good.
I know. I was thinking, you and I have talked about, and Excalibur has said on commentary about, how Frankie Kazarian is like Benjamin Button. And looks-wise and build-wise, he is. But when it comes to professional wrestling, it's Dustin Rhodes that's Benjamin Button.
The thing about Dustin Rhodes that wasn't... This was a perfect example of what Dustin is. He was able to bring every aspect of wrestling into this. He was high-flying. He changed up his character with the whole tassels and all that stuff. He did his callbacks to his glory days. He was, fast, and he was powerful because he was able to hit the power moves and everything. But he was also able to mix in the comedy. He hit literally every aspect of wrestling that you look for, especially in a guy in his age. When he threw the brakes on, and credit to Sammy Guevara too, because when he threw the brakes on Guevara and Guevara was just standing there while he's trying to take a breather, selling his age and everything, that was just a brilliant spot. And it was perfectly done. It was done in the right spot of the match. It made everybody come out of it even looking even better. And by that I mean Guevara and Dustin. It was just a well done moment.
It was, but I sat there thinking, okay, Sammy, why are you yelling at the referee instead of just attacking him?
Because I
love the stop sign thing, and I love that Sammy kind of paused there. But I think if it were, maybe it's an experience. It would be a good excuse. But I would think that you would kind of stop and go, why am I stopping, and just attack the guy?
Right, exactly. And he kind of did that, but it took a little longer than you would think it would. But you're right. He kind of did that where he was like, all of a sudden, he's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? To me, that was just a fun spot. And it was not just a fun spot, but it was really, really well done. And then it kind of got ruined by Sammy vlogging and then doing that shooting star press on nobody.
No, it didn't get ruined by that because of what happened right after that, which is the vlog, which is Dustin taking his vlog and then doing that double super kick with the
Shattered Dreams, or what do they call it now? The unnatural kick.
That's what it was, the unnatural kick. Yeah, all at the same time.
Yeah, but to the rest of us, it's Shattered Dreams.
And the stop sign thing reminded me. Have you ever watched any young Kenny Omega matches?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, because one of his trademark moves used to be a stop sign in Zagiri, where the guy would be running off the ropes and would be coming back, and Kenny would just like pause with one foot in front of him and go, "Stop!" with the one hand held out like he was a traffic cop, and then he would Enziguri the guy in the head.
Yeah,
that was just always just great.
To me, it was another one of those just really cool moments that I hoped doesn't get the run that I'm afraid it's going to, because I think it's going to be one of those where most people are talking about how hokey it was and how, stupid comedy and all that stuff. But I just felt like both those guys played that out so well that it needs to get the credit for what it was. It was a great moment in the middle of what was a really high action, fast paced match.
Yeah.
And it was just a great moment that got the crowd, kind of lighthearted and realizing, yeah, this is fun. This is fun. It's not just all about it's fun. And that's when you look at Sammy Guevara and his matches with his vlogging and all that stuff, that's kind of what he tries to do too. He just doesn't do it to the perfection that Dustin was able to.
Right.
And that's, experience. And it was nice that it was Dustin being able to do that to Sammy, because Sammy tries to do that in every one of his matches where he gets that little comedy spot in there. And for Dustin to be able to do it, it was kind of like the old guy showing the young guy how to do it. It just, to me, it was a great moment. It was one of my favorite spots of the entire night.
The only thing I'm going to say, the only bad thing I'm going to say about this match is Dustin's kick out after getting hit with the
630.
First with the slapjack and then with the 630, I thought was unnecessary.
Yeah.
When it's a 6-man tag match and you've got two other guys there that can break it up, and you hit a big spot like that, that's really the way it should happen, not with a kick out.
I think the 630, that did more. And as soon as he kicked out, I went, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Because it just took Sammy and everything Sammy's been working for months and months and years. It just kind of, it was like, and I'm going to call back to it again, but the Adam Page, when Jericho kicked out, it just did so much to hurt Page that I felt like this was kind of the same thing where Dustin kicks out of this. This is a 50-year-old man who just got hit with a 630 that has put away guys half his age, and he's able to kick out?
Well, that's what I didn't know. I didn't know if that was actually Sammy's finisher or not.
It is on the indies, and it was in AAA.
Okay. I've
seen him use that as a finisher a lot. And, he's always been, the 630 has always kind of been his signature, the big move that he does to put away matches. And to see Dustin kick out of it was really painful.
Yeah, see, if that's the case, then there's no way Dustin should have kicked out of that. It should have been like, and I know Matt had just got knocked out, so it should have been like Jeff pulling Guevara
Jeff
off
or
from
Nick?
the outside or something. Nick, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, here we go again. Cut your hair or something, Nick. Jesus.
Well, the funny thing is that his hair is getting darker now. So there's times when he gets tagged in, and I think it's Matt getting tagged in.
And to be honest, it's credit that we're giving him that kind of, that we make that kind of mistake, that he's that similar to Jeff Hardy, because Jeff is, let's face it, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah,
he's a guy who's a few.
Shawn Michaels, I guess.
Exactly, but even that would be a credit. Yeah, if we were calling him Matt Hardy, that would be a problem.
No, I'm saying if we were calling Matt Marty, that would be a problem.
Yeah, that would be a problem too. Yeah, I agree. But give it. If we keep making that mistake, but it's kind of a great thing because we're comparing him to one of the greatest of all time.
Right. What was the second match you said that you liked? I'm trying to remember. Was that the
Beretta versus Phoenix? Trent versus Phoenix.
Yeah, that was really good too. Yeah.
The thing too that, and I'm going to say it here, there were a couple of things that Jim Ross said where I went, all right, I love you now. When he was talking about Guevara when he was coming down to the ring, talking about how, he's the Spanish god and all that stuff, and that's stupid, but this kid is a future superstar and sooner than later. It was kind of nice to see a guy of Jim Ross's stature, even though the smart fans kind of hate this guy and think that he doesn't know what he's doing. For a guy like Jim Ross, to the casual fan, to give Sammy Guevara that kind of stamp of approval is going to do more for Sammy Guevara's career than the matches he puts on. So I thought that was kind of just a cool little throwaway moment. And also when he started talking about Trent back in his WWE days, as Beretta and being a singles wrestler, I thought that was a cool kind of backhanded compliment that was a callback to a different time, but one that, if you understood what he was saying, was a great way to put Trent over. Those were two spots that Jim Ross did this week that I was like, okay, Jim, I like you now.
I guess I didn't hear those things because I did hear him talk about comparing Guevara to Guerrero again, but really, I was not a fan of Jim Ross on commentary at all this week. I can't point out anything in particular that was worse than anything else he's ever done. I'm just so tired of him. He's better in AEW than he was in NJPW. I'll give him that. But,
much better. No, and I don't think he should be the lead commentator. I think maybe Tony Schiavone should be, because I think Tony does still have those skills. Or give that to Excalibur and let Ross and Schiavone be the play-by-play guys. But I'll give Jim credit where credit is due, because I felt like those two moments that he did was the best I've seen him put over a wrestler since he left WWE in the early 2000s. Even his second run in WWE, he didn't put over wrestlers like he did tonight. I felt like it was a good moment by him.
Actually, I'm gonna say there are a couple of things I can point out that I thought was ridiculous. One of them, he did the same thing last week, and maybe he's been doing it. I just haven't noticed it the last couple of weeks. But when he was talking about how T and Tony just had podcasts come out, that's kind of shilling is just unprofessional and ridiculous.
That was a little too much for me too.
And then the second thing was he said something about, I can't remember what he said, but he said he didn't want to say it because he didn't want to get it wrong and have people on Twitter complain about him. Well, Ross, if you weren't always making stupid mistakes, people wouldn't be complaining about you on Twitter. So maybe you should take some ownership of that and pay attention to what the hell you're saying and not getting shit wrong, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
That does make sense. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
Yeah, that just kind of drove me nuts.
The other, and then we had that. The only other two things that really stuck out tonight. The rest I thought was kind of throwaway. Like, I was not a fan of that first women's match, or the Nyla Rhodes versus whoever she was wrestling, and then that no-name. Yeah, and then that no-name. Well, the Librarian. Anytime they're on, I give up. They've ruined Peter Avalon to a point where I don't think he'll come back in AEW. And Leva Bates has never been this is her second match in AEW. I think it was her first on Dynamite, but no, she's had other matches on Dark. Oh, okay. And then to have this no-name Jennifer or Jessica or whatever, that blonde who at first I thought was Penelope Ford and then turned out it wasn't. To have her come down and fight Nyla, but then get destroyed by Nyla, and then for some reason Nyla got suspended because what the hell happened? Seriously, what happened?
Nyla was suspended for putting the referee through the table.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So where's the precedent in that? How come people aren't getting suspended for pulling referees in the line of fire and getting them knocked out, or flat out kicking referees? If we're going to suspend Nyla Rhodes for putting a referee through a table, why don't we suspend everybody that puts a referee in danger? Was it a couple weeks ago when somebody flat out punched the referee in the face?
Did they?
It was one of the shows we watched. I don't know. Sometimes they run together, but it was. I know there was. It was on one. Maybe it was a different show than AEW, and maybe I should research it and we'll talk about it Monday. But there was something where a referee just got pummeled by a wrestler, and then the rest. Oh, it was MLW when Lawler turned on Ross.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen that yet.
When Fatu literally took out the referee, like threw him into the corner, splashed him, did the whole thing. I'm just saying, if we're going to suspend,
you can't really blame for something that happened in another promotion.
No, I get it, and now that I remember where it was, I'm retracting that statement.
Okay, good. Good job. Good job with that.
Sorry, man.
No, it's fine. I just thought it was kind of funny. Um, yeah, the whole Nyla Rose thing, it's kind of weird because, I was such a big fan of her, and now I think I realize that I was kind of a fan of the idea of her, but, not really what she's actually done. So, it's a little bit depressing because because I was such a big fan of, or I thought I was going to be a big fan of her, but I have not really been a fan of anything that she's done to this point, or how she's been booked, or any of that stuff. So, and tonight could have been, different, but it just didn't work out that way because instead of her just punking out, leave a bait and then taking out the referee, nope. Instead, they had to have this other chick come down and get involved in it as well.
And not only that, but then to have,
she just looked like she was going through the motions the entire time. She looked so sloppy out there and methodical, and I just couldn't get behind it. I mean, she's not the beast that I thought she was going to be.
well, and it wasn't just that, but she took this new wrestler who we don't know, who is out there making a stand against Nyla Rose and actually putting up a decent fight, and then she punks out this new wrestler too. So not only did she, beat up a referee and kind of punk out, Leva Bates again, but then she takes this brand new person that we don't know that maybe could be something special, but now I don't care because Nyla Rose just beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, the one that was out there is, her name is Shanna, and she actually beat Big Swole on last week's, or a couple weeks ago at least, on Dark.
Right. So if you're not watching Dark, you have no clue who the hell she is.
Exactly.
Which I'm not doing. I'm not watching Dark because I just can't fit it into my schedule. I have them all queued up. Eventually, I'm going to sit down and just binge them all one day. But if you're not watching their secondary shows, you have no clue who this person is. Again, we've got another person that they could be building up that just got buried by a main roster person.
Right. I mean, I've only really watched Dark. Like the first couple episodes, I watched most of him, and then I watched the one I was talking about simply because it had that triple threat match, or that AAA title match on it. Where's Jackie?
Yeah, and see, I've got
Kenny Omega.
I've got all of these on my queue. Is okay. I got to watch this match. I got to watch this match, but I just can't find the time. I can barely find the time to keep up on the shows that we watch.
Right.
But
I thought the second women's match was pretty good.
The match itself was good.
Yeah.
My problem was the ending. Like I had no problem with and I can't
coming out.
Yeah, I have no problem. In fact, I really like the fact. Oh yeah, she did. Oh my god. But I had no problem with and I can't remember her name, but the New Zealand. She's from New Zealand, right? Or Austria. I don't remember. Whoever the blonde chick was, I have no problem with her actually winning the match. Kantanabe, or I can't remember. But the way that Kong and Brandy came out and, they're like trying to recruit her, and then some weird chick from the audience starts saying, yeah, recruit me. I love you guys. And then they bring this weird chick in. That would have been a good moment for the weird chick to attack the blonde that just won the match. Instead, the person that won the match kind of sneaks away off to the outside and they just cut her hair off.
Yeah.
What did I just see? So now we just have a bald follower? You had a moment to put this chick over, and instead you just shaved her head.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I had
kind of a misstep.
But yeah, it definitely is a fair point.
Because it would have made a lot of sense if this chick would have said, "Hey, I want to follow you guys. I love you guys. Yeah, pick me, pick me, pick me." And if they came up and they cut that little lock of her hair off, and then she went in and just beat the hell out of whoever had just won this match. Now we've got a legitimate star and somebody who's part of this nightmare collective or whatever they're doing, and it would have made sense. It would have had Brandy in charge of these two really powerful people. Instead, we have Awesome Kong and a bald chick that never has done anything except be weird from the crowd.
Yeah, That is another excellent point.
I'm sorry. Just
No,
my feelings.
Nothing to be sorry about. I just, nothing I thought about that deeply about. Yeah, but yeah, I think that you're totally right about that. And I have no idea who that chick was either. So.
Yeah, they did nothing to establish her. She's just a bald chick now, a weird bald chick that came in from the crowd. That's all she is. They had a chance to put her over. Instead, they shaved her head.
Yeah, but we'll see if there's follow up on that, and we find out who she is eventually, and maybe she'll end up being great. Who knows?
But even still, at this point, it's going to take a lot for me to actually care, because right now, I just know her as some bald chick from the audience that was acting really weird. She had a chance to make a statement. Instead, she got her head shaved.
Was her head completely shaved? I thought they only cut off part of it, or did they finish it during the commercial break or something?
Oh, I don't know. I just.
But to be fair, you didn't know who Priscilla Kelly was 2 weeks ago, and now you're pretty enthused with her.
Yeah, but Priscilla Kelly made a statement. She beat the hell out of an announcer. She, beat up people in the ring. You don't think
coming out there and having your head shaved is making a statement?
No.
Didn't that one chick do that with CM Punk?
Yeah, but that one chick with CM Punk actually was something known. Like, it wasn't just her being a follower from the crowd. She had an actual wrestling career and came out and joined the Straight Edge Society and got her head shaved because of it. This was just some weird chick in the crowd screaming, "I love you guys."
Maybe I'm misremembering, clearly, but I thought that the way that whoever the hell that was that joined CM Punk's band came out directly from the crowd to do that. I didn't think she was established as a wrestler before that.
That was 10 years ago, so it's possible I could be misinterpreting it. But even still, whatever happened to her after CM Punk joined the new Nexus?
I'm trying to remember who she was, so I can't really answer that.
Exactly. After CM Punk leaves them, Luke Gallows goes to Japan. CM Punk goes and he's the new leader of the new Nexus, and this chick just disappeared.
Well, that's all because WWE was too stupid to keep it going.
Yeah, true, but
because that was an awesome stable.
Oh, it was. It was one of my favorites. But outside of those first two matches, Cody, his interview, I felt like he kind of was an ass bag and distanced himself more from the Elite than Adam Page did. When he's saying, all these guys I've counted on, my wife is cutting the hair off of losers in this division, and my brother and my two best friends are off doing their own thing in some blood feud against the Inner Circle, and MJF stabbed me in the back. He just literally put himself on an island. I loved his interview. I loved how passionate he was. I loved the fact that he took his, because even though there's 4 executive producers or executive officers, whatever they are, of AEW, Cody is the one who gets the most love for being the mind behind AEW and all this stuff, even though he was the one in reality who hemmed and hawed about it the most. The Bucks and Omega, they were all in. They wanted to do this. They're the ones that were the driving force. They had to convince Cody to come and be a part of it because he didn't really want to. But he's the one who, since day one, has gotten all the love. And I really love the fact that he went out there and he played up that part as being this big shot. Giving away the money to that kid and throwing it to MJF, taking off his Tony Khan watch and his expensive shoes and his whatever that vehicle was. It
was a Ford Black Ops. I had never heard of it, so I had to look it up to see what it was.
I'd never heard of it either, so I didn't look it up. But
that makes no sense whatsoever.
I didn't care that much, especially after Jim Ross made some joke about how he used to drive one. I was like, oh, whatever. I thought it was a great promo by him. I don't know where it's going, because he really kind of alienated himself from everybody. He put himself on an island and used his position in the company to do it. So I really want to see where it goes. I thought it was a great promo. It was really intense. It was really, it really kind of set up the future. It set up this little blood feud with MJF. Even though there already was one, this kind of set it up more. There was a lot going on in the promo. He was burying his friends, and at the same time, he was putting over MJF, and he was, it was great listening to him talk and everything he said and everything he did. I thought was amazing. I need to see where it goes, though.
I'll go even a step further in what you were saying, and that is that, a few weeks ago, or I shouldn't say, well, I can't remember exactly when it was, but like a couple of weeks before All Out, or not All Out, Full Gear, there was that spot where, it looked like, Cody was going to have no friends, and they had that big brawl in backstage area, and, the guys that were helping him out were MJF, Dustin, and DDP. Well, tonight he was talking about how Dustin wasn't available, and how Brandy was doing this stuff with Kong, and he was talking about MJF turning his back on him, and all that is true. But last week,
right,
DDP got his ass kicked by Wardlow, who's with MJF, and he didn't say a damn thing about DDP. And then he didn't say anything.
He did.
No, he didn't.
He did. There was. Oh no, you're right. He didn't. It was it was on the list. The lexicon of Le Champion. Right. Was Diamond Dallas Page. Okay, I knew I heard Diamond Dallas Page at some point, but you're right. And that's another thing that we.
Even if we don't want to talk about the guys that he's been teaming with in AEW, he also didn't mention the Young Bucks. He didn't mention Page. He didn't mention Omega.
Cody?
Yeah.
He threw the Bucks under the rug. That was his first statement. He reached out for the guys that were his friends, and his brother is teaming with the Bucks in this blood feud against Proud and Powerful. That was the first thing he said, was his brother and the Bucks.
I didn't remember him mentioning the Bucks. I thought he just said his brother's in some kind of stupid 6-man or something.
With the Bucks.
I didn't think he specifically ever said the Bucks. Was my point.
No, he did. He did. That was one of those moments where I went, Jesus, really? We're gonna bury all your friends?
Yeah. So I thought it was weird he didn't mention Page after last week's Page versus Wardlow thing.
Yeah, he didn't mention Page, and he also didn't. You're right. He didn't mention Omega, but he really went out of his way to separate himself from the people that he's been associated with the closest, because since he's been in AEW, we all know his friendship with the Bucks, his brother, his MJF, his wife. But has Kenny really been on screen a friend of Cody's?
Probably.
Kenny's teamed with the Bucks. Kenny's done his own stuff against Moxley and Pac, but he has never really interacted with Cody, right, where the other guys have. Everyone else has. So it was kind of, to me, it was okay that he really didn't mention Kenny, because even people that are smart fans know that he and Kenny have a very shattered past.
Very interesting relationship.
Yeah, that's one good way to put it. Yeah. So I was okay with that. The fact that he didn't mention it did click in my head. That's like, wait a minute, what about Kenny? I did think that for half a second, but then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Makes sense why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I guess like I said, I also don't remember him mentioning the Bucks, but I'll take your word for it that he did.
Well, there's a replay on right now. I'm watching it.
Yeah, I've already seen it once. I don't need to watch it again.
Oh, I like watching it again, in case I miss something. Then I can yell at you about it on Monday.
You miss lots of things.
I do. Usually in my personal life with women, but that's a whole nother issue.
You have trouble finding the hole sometimes, do you?
Most times.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, the main event of this show was basically a throwaway. You know, I really was not into it at all.
Well, all it was a way to set up Jericho coming through the audience to end the show. That's really the only reason for the match. There was nothing that stood out. There was no moves that stood out. They looked sloppy. They looked like they have zero chemistry together. That spot where Moxley goes for that paradigm shift, but he's doing it into the ropes. Where was that supposed to go? Was he supposed to DDT him through the ropes? It made no sense. And then to have Joey Janela come out with this really weird looking spinning DDT over the ropes where Moxley just kind of crumpled and didn't really look like he got played. It was just a weird moment that looked like they did not have any kind of chemistry at all.
You know, for when they had the fight for Fyter Fest, I was praising them for having that raised ramp and how excited I was for it. Ever since then, the shows they've had the raised ramps on have not really been
used the raised ramps.
They have not really used them very well. I mean, the one time that it really came into play since then was an accident when Cody got busted open against Jericho.
And he's still sporting that scar that they talk about.
Right.
That's going to be a nasty. That's going to be one of those Steve Austin type scars, where it's going to end up being a part of who he is. And
that's okay.
Yeah, and it is, but it's because it was kind of an accident the way that it happened. I remember one time listening to Austin, and they were talking about the scar on his lip and how he get it and everything. He goes, "It was an accident. There was no cool story to it. It was an accident." And that's kind of the way you're looking at it with Cody now too. He's going to have this really cool scar that's going to be a part of his, his lexicon for the future, and it's just going to be, it was an accident. I landed wrong. It was
an accident, but it was also in a world title main event match. So.
That's true. That is true. Where Austin's, I guess, was a car crash or something, but
right.
So, I mean, I don't. Do you have anything else on this episode? I thought the first hour was great. The second hour was, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get anything that happened in the second hour.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, it was kind of a low energy show for me, even though there's parts that I liked simply because so many guys that are high profile weren't even on the show.
Yeah, and hopefully that's something that they don't continue to do, because I think you're right. I think that really hurt the product, even if you have them in a backstage segment or.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like saving them and not having them on every week, but I think when you have so many guys that are top level stars off in 1 week, it just really brings down the show.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they had, like I said, if they'd had a little spot, just a little pre-produced thing that was shown during the commercial break with Darby Allin, and then maybe another one in a different commercial break with Paige, we wouldn't have noticed it as much. But the fact that, like you said, there were so many of the top stars that weren't even there.
Right, and I ran down earlier the top 5 list from this, the top 5 contender list, and only one of those guys wrestled.
Yeah, and the other one cut another.
And only one other guy was even on the show at all. So.
And the other guy cut one of the best promos I've heard in a long time.
He did.
And he shouldn't even be in that top 5 contender list.
I agree.
Because he can't. And that was another thing too. And I want to say this briefly. That was another thing too that was kind of underhanded, with him saying, "I'll give you whatever you want, whatever it takes to make you wrestle, or to make you wrestle me." He opened up a number 1 contendership match by saying that. These two wrestle, the winner gets a number 1 contender spot. Now all of a sudden Cody's back in the main event. Cody also set it up by talking about how he never quit and never would have.
Right.
So it was something that you and I talked about before this match happened, where there's going to be some kind of loophole that gets him back into contendership for the title. And he kind of, in this promo, alluded to both of those little loopholes that could happen.
Well, I don't think that, just because MJF could be challenging for the number one contendership means that Cody would get that, because Cody's prize would be actually getting MJF in the ring. Also,
right,
if you notice, the way that Cody phrased it wasn't that if he lost the match to Jericho, he would never wrestle for the championship again. It was that if he didn't win, he'd never wrestle for the championship again. So
right, and he did say that, but then with his little statement about how I never quit. I didn't win the title, but I never quit.
No, I know he said that. I'm just saying that I don't see how he can actually worm his way out of it, considering the fact that his actual statement wasn't, if I lost, it was if I did not win.
Dude, it's wrestling. He just wormed himself out of it by that one statement. That was the opening that he gets to say, hey, you know what? I don't suck. I should get another title shot. That was his opening.
Yeah, I'd be a lot more okay with it if it was somebody, if it was to the point where, whoever was the champion was just like begging for him to get the title shot. So.
Now, did he say he would never get a title shot again, or another title shot as long as Jericho was champ?
Never get another title shot again.
Okay. All right. Well, regardless.
We'll hit the plugs.
Yeah. A few things. One I didn't hit on Monday, and of course our Monday show, Kingdom of Honor. Listen to it right here on Lords of Pain Radio. It's also on YouTube. YouTube.com/Kingdom of Honor. You can hear that show. You can hear this show. You can hear anything that we do kind of specialized that we just kind of are bored, so we throw stuff up. Again, YouTube.com/Kingdom of Honor. Go there, like everything, subscribe to it. It helps us out in the end, and eventually we can do live shows on it if we get enough subscribers. Patreon, another place you can listen to this show and also our Monday show. You can just patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. I put these up for free for a limited time until we get 5 episodes. I try to keep 5 free at a time before they move to our archives. And you can really, really help us out on a personal level by donating. And we do give you things for donating. We give you our archives, which go back to 2014, 15, something like that, where we've done a lot of shows over time, and they're all in our archives. And we do also give you exclusive content. We try to pump one out a week, usually Monday nights. I usually have it up Monday nights. This week we're actually doing it tomorrow. And we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about our Desert Island series, which is we break down one wrestler's career. We're currently breaking down all of the old ECW super shows and pay-per-views. We also talk about Jessica Jones Series 2, so we talk a lot about Marvel. We talk a lot about wrestling. We talk about music. We talk about everything. These are all exclusive shows that you can only get at patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. And, of course, our Twitters. I'm at Regi Co-op. He's at ZanmanLOP. And you can reach us the best by going to #DAD and #KOH.
And like Jeff said, every show on LOP Radio is actually available on the Lords of Pain YouTube channel. Tomorrow is... Make sure you stay tuned to all the LOP Radio shows. Tomorrow is IMS LOP Radio Adventure. Today was actually Sports Entertainment is Dead, where Plan and Ms. Fan talked about Takeshi Morishima versus Bryan Danielson from Manhattan Mayhem 2004, maybe 2005. So that'd be a fun listen. Tomorrow is The Right Side of the Pond, and then Jeff and I will be back with you next week on Kingdom of Honor, where we still have no idea what we're talking about. So it's always fun.
We'll figure it out. We got a lot of stuff. I've been getting caught up on NWA Power. There's going to be some thoughts on that because it's weird. I'm caught up on MLW, so we'll get some of that on there. Of course, there's always going to be AEW talk and just random stuff because we like to call it an ADD show because we are all over the map.
We are. That's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. Until then, this is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
goodbye.
G1 Climax 27. Goodbye and good night.